Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the United States isn't so united anymore. States breaking away, borders shifting, and brand new countries forming where your road trip map used to be. Sounds like a crazy sci-fi movie, right? But guess what? It's a real possibility. For years, people have whispered about it in diners, debated it in state capitals, and argued about it all over social media. Could certain states actually leave the US? And if so, why, how, and what would happen next? Today, we're diving deep into 10 states that could realistically break away in the future. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory. It's about history, politics, and the cracks in the system that could change America forever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's get started. Number 10, Hawaii. Hawaii's history with the US has always been controversial. Annexed in 1898, many native Hawaiians still believe the takeover was illegal and want their kingdom restored. The state has a rich culture, unique language, and deep traditions that set it apart from the mainland. Some activists demand reparations or even full independence from the US. But could Hawaii actually survive on its own? Tourism and trade bring in billions of dollars each year, making it financially strong. However, 90% of its food is imported, which could cause problems if it became independent. Meanwhile, sovereignty groups are growing, protesting the US military presence on the islands. Hawaii's strategic location in the Pacific makes it crucial for US military defense, with Pearl Harbor and other bases playing a major role. While Hawaiian independence movements continue to gain support, the state's dependence on tourism and its military importance make breaking away a tough battle. Could Hawaii really stand alone? Number 9, Alaska. Alaska, with its endless wilderness and rich natural resources, has long flirted with the idea of independence. In fact, the Alaskan Independence Party, founded in the 1980s, still pushes for secession. But could it really survive on its own? Surprisingly, the answer isn't so far-fetched. With massive oil reserves, natural gas, and a booming fishing industry, Alaska brings in billions of dollars every year, making it an economic powerhouse. Its ability to export resources gives it a level of self-sufficiency that few other states can match. But that's not all. Alaska's geographical isolation separates it from the mainland, making it function somewhat independently already. It shares a border with Canada and its closest international neighbor, Russia. Speaking of Russia, did you know Alaska used to be Russian territory before the US bought it in 1867? Some still argue that the sale was illegitimate. Add in a strong native Alaskan culture and frontier spirit, and it's clear that Alaska has a unique identity. But here's the catch. Federal funding makes up nearly a third of Alaska's budget, and with major US military bases in the state, breaking away wouldn't be easy. So, is Alaskan independence a real possibility or just a dream? Number 8, Texas. Texas has been talking about secession for nearly 200 years. Before joining the US in 1845, it was an independent republic for nearly a decade, and many Texans still believe the state should stand on its own. With a $2 trillion economy, Texas is a financial giant powered by oil, technology, and agriculture. If it left the US, it could be one of the world's top energy exporters. But it's not just about money. Texans have a strong independent spirit. Many feel more connected to their state than the country, fueling the Texas nationalist movement. However, secession is not that simple. The US Supreme Court ruled in 1869 that states can't leave on their own, making independence a legal nightmare. Plus, Texas has major military bases and relies on federal funding for hurricane relief and infrastructure. While Texas has the history, economy, and mindset for independence, legal battles, military concerns, and financial risks make secession an uphill fight. Could Texas ever go solo? Number 7, California. California isn't just a state, it's an economic superpower. If it were independent, its economy would be the 5th largest in the world, rivaling the UK or India. Home to tech giants like Apple, Google, and Tesla, California generates trillions of dollars, making it one of the richest places on Earth. But money isn't the only reason some want out. The state often clashes with federal policies on climate change, immigration, and social issues. Many Californians feel Washington doesn't represent their values, fueling the Yes California movement, which has pushed for independence referendums. While no official steps have been taken, the movement gains traction every time political tensions rise. But breaking away wouldn't be easy. California relies on U.S. trade and federal disaster aid, especially for wildfires, earthquakes, and droughts. Plus, with major military bases and key naval ports, secession would raise huge legal and strategic issues. Despite its power, California's path to independence remains a difficult dream. Could it ever happen? Number 6, New Hampshire. New Hampshire's famous motto, "Live free or die," isn't just words. It's a way of life. Many people here believe in small government, fewer rules, and more personal freedom. Unlike most states, New Hampshire has no income tax or sales tax, making it less tied to Washington, D.C. Some even think the state should break away entirely. The Free State Project, a movement bringing thousands of libertarians to New Hampshire, has pushed secession talks further. Many residents argue that the federal government has too much power over their lives. But could New Hampshire really survive alone? That's where things get tricky. The state depends on federal money for highways, schools, and healthcare, and replacing those funds would be tough. Plus, its economy, while strong, isn't big enough to stand alone easily. New Hampshire has the independence mindset. But would it be enough? Breaking away sounds exciting, but financial realities make it a huge challenge. Number 5, Oregon. Oregon has been caught in secession debates for years, and the divide is growing. While cities like Portland and Eugene are known for progressive politics, many rural counties feel ignored and want more freedom or even independence. One of the biggest movements isn't full secession, but the Greater Idaho Plan. Many rural Oregonians believe their conservative values match Idaho's more than Oregon's liberal policies. Several counties have already voted to explore leaving Oregon and joining Idaho. Oregon's economy is strong, with major industries in technology, farming, and timber. The Silicon Forest is home to Intel and other tech firms, while wine production and logging also bring in billions. The Port of Portland is a crucial West Coast trade hub, making Oregon vital for global commerce. Some activists push for a new country called Cascadia, uniting Oregon, Washington, and parts of Canada. But breaking away wouldn't be easy. Urban areas control the economy, and losing federal money for roads, police, and social programs would be a massive challenge. Number 4, Vermont. Believe it or not, Vermont was once its own country. From 1777 to 1791, it governed itself independently before finally joining the U.S. This history fuels modern secessionist movements, like the Second Vermont Republic, which pushes for breaking away again. Many Vermonters argue that federal policies don't match the state's progressive values, making independence an attractive idea. Vermont has a small but self-sufficient economy powered by agriculture, tourism, and small-scale manufacturing. The state is famous for dairy farms, maple syrup, and outdoor recreation, which bring in revenue. But could it truly survive alone? That's where things get complicated. Vermont relies heavily on federal funding for roads, healthcare, and social services. Without that support, the state could struggle financially. Its economy, while stable, isn't huge, making self-sufficiency a challenge. Vermont's independent spirit and history make secession an exciting thought, but economic realities could hold it back from breaking free. Number 3, Florida. Florida is so unique that some people already joke it feels like its own nation. But could it really go independent? With a booming economy, powerful trade connections, and a strategic location, some believe Florida could actually pull it off. Economically, Florida is a giant. Tourism, aerospace, and farming bring in billions, with Disney World alone pumping huge amounts into the economy. Miami is a gateway to Latin America, building strong trade ties with Cuba, Brazil, and Venezuela. A huge advantage if Florida were independent. Its coastline along the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico also makes it a global trade hub. But there are big problems. Florida is hit by hurricanes almost every year, relying heavily on federal disaster aid. It's also home to NASA's Kennedy Space Center and major military bases. Losing those would be a huge blow. Plus, Florida is politically divided, with cities leaning liberal and rural areas staying strongly conservative. Could Florida handle these challenges, or is independence just a dream? Number 2, South Carolina. South Carolina has a bold history. It was the first state to secede in 1860, kicking off the Civil War. While today's secession talks are different, many residents still believe in independence and a smaller government that aligns with their values. The state is one of the most conservative in America, often clashing with federal laws on guns, immigration, and taxes. Many believe that breaking away would allow them to create a government that better serves their interests. Economically, South Carolina is strong. It thrives in manufacturing, farming, and tourism, with major companies like Boeing, BMW, and Michelin bringing in billions. The port of Charleston is also one of the busiest in the U.S., making trade a key advantage. But breaking away wouldn't be easy. The state gets billions in federal money for schools, healthcare, and roads. Plus, with Fort Jackson and other key military bases, negotiations over defense funding would be a major challenge. Would South Carolina really risk it all? Number 1, Washington. Washington is one of the richest and most independent-thinking states in the U.S., leading some to wonder, could it survive on its own? With tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing, Washington is a global powerhouse in technology and aerospace. Its economy is strong enough to stand alone. But is independence really possible? Some activists support the Cascadia movement, which dreams of merging Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia into a separate nation. Washington also has massive trade connections with Canada and Asia, making it one of the most internationally connected states. But independence wouldn't be easy. Washington gets huge federal funding for infrastructure and disaster relief. Plus, Joint Base Lewis McChord, one of the biggest U.S. military bases, raises major national security concerns. Breaking away could create serious legal and economic chaos. Could Washington really go solo, or is this just a fantasy? As the divide between states grows, the idea of secession isn't going away. What do you think? Which state has the best chance of leaving the U.S.? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more shocking insights.